So Giles and I went home. He was then 3.5 or something, and he was a wild thing. One seriously went through seriously considering whether he was possessed by the devil. He was just so awful. He was not reaching out to us at all. He was irrational. He didn't understand. He was violent. He was destructive. Still a lovely bonny boy, and but needed to be on reins when we went out for a walk. And this is a child that's growing up. It was not a good time. When it came time for the compulsory schooling, the only place that was even possible for him was one of the old-style training centres where the children were cared for, and that was where he went. And I'm trying to think how he got there. It was local and thing. But he was only there one term because, somebody must have collected him, because when I noticed, I waved to him and he flinched. So somebody had obviously been spacking him. And so he came home, and we then thought, how on earth, where can we get some sort of schooling for him? Because the idea, he was classed as ineducable. It was not thought that children of his level of vulnerability were educable at all. So was it care? Was it giving respite to us? Was it, he didn't sleep at night, so we ran a shift system. When Derek came home from work, I would walk out of the door, desperate to get away from it, because I had too many hours cooped up with this apparently mad child. I was trying to work, so when he did get off to sleep, I would sort of spend time holding on to my own sanity. And later on, as I learned more and more about mental health, I realised how hard it is for carers to do that. So I was starting to try and do a little bit of earning and a way of keeping myself as a person, not just as Giles's mother. And I forget how, I found a local authority primary school for non-communicating children. It wasn't autism specific, in the far end of Buckinghamshire, which is a long, thin county. And he used to be collected by ambulance on Monday and brought back on Friday. And it was normal term time, so there was quite a lot of holidays. And I thought with that amount of break, life would suddenly become very easy. But in fact, one is kept going by stress. And I was never, ever ready for him to come home on Friday afternoon. All the cooking would be done, everything would be locked up so that the house was safe, that he couldn't hurt himself or hurt anyone. The garden was fenced. And yet he'd come home, and within 5 minutes it would be bedlam. And so it was still difficult because there are a lot of holidays. He was there for 8 years. No, it can't have been as long as that. He went at 6 or 7, came out at 11 or 12, so more like 6 years. And they were marvellous. They did actually start him communicating. In terms of pointing, and you began to understand when he was much happier and how to keep him happy. But life sort of closed in on us because there were so few things that one could do. And there really weren't many places you could take him. I took him to my mother's, and she was really very good with him. She had been a teacher and probably could cope with it a little bit like that. My mother-in-law, who was a fine woman, wouldn't have him visit her there. She was worried about the neighbours seeing him and realising that something was wrong. And she was there was some in-law problems then, and I had to actually say to my father-in-law, look, Giles is extremely disabled, was the term we used to use then. And I am doing my very best with him. I can't, you know, the future doesn't look good, but I'm doing my very best to get Jane off my back, which he obviously spoke with his dear wife, who I'm very fond of. That sort of comment did stop. Because autism is a very weird disability. We now know that it starts at birth, but only exhibits itself later on. It's clearly a neurological disorder. It's not really environmental. But obviously the way in which somebody's life is managed makes a big impact on them. But it's not just the individual, it takes in the whole family. And it is so limiting, so, not infuriating, but I mean, it was driving me mad. But eventually I was beginning to feel that, not just metaphorically, that life was closing in on me, but the walls started to come in and I had vertigo and it was dreadful. So both of us, in fact, finished up in hospital.